So this is the effects of and solutions to climate change by me, Nico, and Jack. So without the greenhouse effect, Earth would be more of a frozen tundra than anything else. The greenhouse effect is when the sun's rays get to Earth, which forms heat. Some of that heat is kept in place due to carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere, but the rest is just left floating in space. When we emit more carbon dioxide, we trap more heat inside of the Earth's atmosphere, thus making the planet hotter, an effect otherwise known as climate change. The main cause of climate change is burning fossil fuels, something which releases a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. According to NASA, should as much carbon dioxide be emitted into the atmosphere, more droughts, heat waves, and hurricanes will occur. Also, the Arctic is expected to become completely ice-free by mid-century due to climate change. So a poll taken by Brian Spies of the Royal Society in South New Wales, a scientific organization, found that half the public thought that humans affected climate change. The other half had thought that humans had nothing to do with it. Brian Spies found that 97% of scientists believe that humans have an effect on climate change, an overwhelming consensus. However, the public only thought that half the scientists thought that humans were contributing to it. Despite that, 45% of Americans are greatly concerned about climate change, according to Justin Warland of the Time magazine. So there's a lot of concern about climate change. We just need to better translate that information to the public sphere, and what we can do to change it. According to Matthias Ruth, who has a PhD in geography and is a journalist, the maple sugar. Republicans have a history of not taking as much action about climate change. A research fellow at the Tasmania University, Chloe H. Lucas, found that when Republicans took control of the House of Representatives in 2010, not a single bill contained the keyword climate change in the years that followed. The President Trump has also been quoted saying climate change is a hoax, something that really doesn't help scientists' efforts to promote the idea that climate change is a real issue. The main reason found, though, for Republicans' basically ignorance of climate change is that Democrats have a history of taking more action about it. For Republicans, it would be considered treason to their own party if they sided with the Democrats on an issue that they have historically been more silent about.
The first solution is to encourage politicians to act on current climate change. There are some problems with this solution, however. The first problem was stated by Justin Warland, an author for the Time magazine. He said that right-wing politicians would not champion climate change because left-wing politicians would do something about it. The second problem was stated by Brian Spies, a chief research scientist at the science organization CSIRO, and said that the general public and the right-wing supporters do not believe in man-made climate change. The second solution to this problem is the solution that the government should implement carbon pricing. This solution was proposed by Professor Simon Deitz, part of the Department of Geography and Environment at LSE. He said that this would save trillions of dollars. Some of the problems with this solution is that this is in early stages of development and not many people might want this solution. This solution is very cost effective. This third solution, and the best solution, is to have the government implement policies that will help reduce carbon emissions. This solution was proposed by Matthias Ruth, a scientist that researched the cost of climate change on the United States. He said that this is one of the best solutions to help us avoid heavy economic damages from climate change. On the top of this, the government should help fund studies that help us find ways to solve climate change. There are also many problems associated with the solution. This may cause a huge shift in the power industry that we may not be fully prepared for and might not be accepted by many people. Also, this could cause many people to lose their jobs.
Okay, so the best solution is the government implementation of carbon limitation and pricing, which overall benefits the economy as well as the environment. According to Joseph E. Aldi, a professor from Harvard University, we should slowly let companies officially reduce their carbon limitations so that they have time to evolve to this change, and and it will be better for their companies. But the problem is that some companies that can't switch or have some problems with switching won't do this. Now the second problem with this, or the second part of the solution is carbon pricing, which is called a carbon curve. The carbon curve is essentially the tax on the carbon emissions for energy. And one of the most effective solutions for these emissions, according from Fizz, a Princeton University professor, they say that putting a price on carbon pollution is the best approach for nurturing the rapid growth of renewable, or putting a price on carbon will efficiently reduce companies for using this source of energy and will switch to renewable energy, which in turn help the economy with sustainability and helps carbon emissions to become less popular. The problem is it is a very difficult and long process for policymakers because all companies will have a optimal way of inducing this, which will cause problems. And according to Professor Sam Frankhauser, director of Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and Environment, has found that carbon curve could save $1 trillion annually by estimating the total cost of climate change damage and equivalent to the percent of how much carbon tons are introduced in our environment. And here's the graph. According to EPA, in 2011, large power plants declined 19.7% to reduce their carbon emissions because it was more economically friendly and environmentally friendly to use, instead of carbon for energy, they use shale grade gas and displaced coal. It was very efficiently for the economy.